Ho Chi Minh City, or Saigon as the locals still call it, isn't just a city, it's an organism. Even the name is a contradiction, a subtle tug of war between past and present, chaos and control, memory and momentum, alive, rhythmic, pulsing, feeding off the energy of its people. Or do the people feed off the energy of place? The moment you step onto its streets, it grabs hold of you. The air is thick with humidity, the smell of exhaust fumes, and street food sizzling on charcoal grills. Motorbikes zip by in a chaotic ballet of organized disorder, honking horns their own kind of soundtrack. To an outsider, it might seem overwhelming, but to the people who live here, this is life. It's a place where over 7 million motorbikes flood the streets like schools of fish, dodging and weaving in an endless, dizzying but hypnotic flow. Where history isn't hidden, but it doesn't loom either. It just is. You can see it, feel it, but it's almost as if the people have moved beyond it. Saigon is Vietnam's beating heart, a city where old collides with new in a dizzying whirlwind. Skyscrapers loom over crumbling French colonial buildings. Trendy coffee shops share the streets with open-air food stalls that have been serving the same dishes for generations. It's a place where history never feels too far away, and yet you can't help but feel like the future is being built in real time right before your eyes. If you're coming to Saigon expecting a leisurely introduction, forget it. Saigon doesn't do slow. It's fast, relentless, unforgiving. The heat hits you like a brick wall the moment you step outside, and the noise, constant, all around you, demands your attention. But once you get past the initial shock, once you surrender to the chaos, you begin to see a certain beauty in it. Everyone's in a hurry, but no one seems rushed. It's a strange paradox. Saigon's urgency has a strange calm to it. There's a calmness to the people here that I didn't expect. Even in the busiest parts of the city, no one seems all that rushed. No one seems stressed. The motorbikes weave through the streets with ease, like they've been doing it forever. It's a contrast to the way outsiders often see or represent Saigon. They call it chaotic, overwhelming, impossible to navigate. But that's not what I see. I see a city that's found its rhythm, a place where movement is constant but never frantic. The people here have mastered the art of going with the flow, and as I spend more time here, I start to understand why. Where Western eyes might see disorder, there's an unspoken choreography that's taken generations to perfect. I spent my first days simply watching, planted on various street corners like a peculiar potted plant, trying to decode the street crossing algorithm that seemed hardwired into local DNA. Those first hours of observation became an unexpected masterclass in the city's pulse. Every time I gathered the courage to step off the curb, my nerve would falter. The stream of motorbikes appeared endless. It was endless. A living river of steel and exhaust that seemed impossible to ford. Then it would happen. Someone reading my hesitation like large print book would appear at my elbow. Follow me, they'd seem to say, with an invisible leash on my arm, with the confident authority of an adult leading a child. And suddenly, I was moving through traffic, the sea of vehicles parting around us like a miracle. I arrived heavy with the ghosts of American war films, expecting to find a city defined by its past. Instead, I discovered a metropolis racing toward its future while dancing with its history. The war that once consumed American consciousness is just one chapter in Saigon's 1,000-year history, and perhaps not even its most interesting one. Saigon's ghosts might haunt me, but here, they don't seem to cast long shadows. The weight of history I brought with me seems to dissipate in the face of Saigon's relentless forward momentum. Local residents respond to my American accent not with reservation, but with a warm pragmatism that feels like absolution. There's a moment, taking a long walk after visiting the Remnants Museum, where I realized just how much the war still haunts me, and I wasn't even born yet, and how little it seems to haunt the people here. For them, it's history, but not something that weighs heavily on their daily lives. Maybe it's because they've had to rebuild, to move on, and holding on to the past would only slow them down. Or maybe it's just that life in Saigon moves too fast to look back. Either way, it's a refreshing contrast to the way Americans tend to hold on to war, to the ghosts that still linger in our collective memory. Now, I'm not saying that the Vietnamese have forgotten. You can see the remnants of the war if you look, but it doesn't define them. Here, on a scavenger hunt across Saigon, sipping coffee that's as strong and unyielding as the city itself, I feel a message from my own life, one that more Americans could learn from. The past is here, there, everywhere, but it's not everything. In the shadows of gleaming skyscrapers, elderly women in conical hats still sell fresh baguettes and fragrant pho, their small sidewalk operations a testament to the city's enduring soul. The colonial-era post office stands proud, its aging yellow walls now backdropping young couples' selfies. At dawn, and again at dusk, District 1's parks fill with Tai Chi practitioners and joggers in Nike gear, moving beneath the watchful gaze of the reunification palace. The city pulses with an energy that defies simple categorization. Yes, crossing the street feels like a leap of faith, and the heat can be oppressive, but there's an intoxicating vitality here that transcends the surface chaos. In the evening, when the temperature drops and the sky turns down the lights, entire families balance on single motorbikes, teenagers huddle over bubble tea, and businessmen loosen their ties at street-side bars. This is when you realize that Saigon's true magic lies not in its contradictions, but in how seamlessly it weaves them together. The streets are where Saigon's soul is laid bare. Down every alley, behind every corner, there's a story, or at least a new set of eating and drinking establishments to experience. I mapped the city through its cafés, each one a waypoint in an expanding constellation of discovery. The coffee culture here isn't just about the drink, it's about space, both physical and social. Every cafe, from the humblest to the most sophisticated, creates its own microclimate of interaction. As climate change threatens the delicate nature of Arabica crops, robusta has a chance to step into the spotlight, and Vietnam, already the world's largest producer of robusta, might just be its saving grace. Vietnam isn't just a coffee producer, it's the world's second largest coffee exporter. And as climate change reshapes global agriculture, its robusta beans are becoming increasingly crucial to the world's coffee future. Saigon's heart seems to beat in and through its coffee shops, hundreds upon hundreds of them, from hole-in-the-wall cafes to sleek modern establishments that wouldn't look out of place in Seattle or San Francisco. This is where the city's past, present, and future converge in cups of rich, dark revelation. The traditional Vietnamese coffee experience, the thin filter slowly dripping concentrated coffee, is more than a caffeine delivery system. It's a meditation, a forced pause in a city that rarely stands still. Watching the dark drops fall one by one, you begin to understand that Saigon operates on its own temporal logic. Time here isn't linear, but circular, like the ripples spreading across your cup as each coffee drop hits the surface. In Saigon, you're not just tasting coffee, you're tasting tomorrow. The coffee shops, whether they're housed in colonial-era buildings or modern high-rises, serve as laboratories where tradition and innovation collaborate. Some roasters are experimenting with new processing methods for the robusta beans, elevating them beyond their traditional role as filler in cheap blends. Others are exploring single-origin Vietnamese Arabica from the country's highland regions. Many of them are proudly serving combinations of novelty in every step of the process, all of which are new to an American palate. So the biggest question on an American mind is, but does it taste good? Of all the different ways I can tell you the answer is a resounding yes, whether it's egg coffee, salted coffee, coconut coffee, nobody is taking more time to enlighten the customer experience and educate that experience than La Café.
Fin brewer. Inside it have a microfilter. We stay at the bottom, coffee and the water. And we pour the water in spiral shape. Yeah. So it have a bigger hole, and this is the micro hole. Microfilter. Yes.
The microfilter in first,
yes.
then the coffee.
It will stay at the bottom, and then the coffee on the top. Then you pour the water. Yes.
Give them the name. Normally, like buyers like you, grocery like you would buy beans from them, but hide the name, hide where the beans come from. But we don't want it that way. We want to keep every names, every farms in.
This is the condensed milk at the bottom, and coffee. On the top is the yogurt and whipping cream. We have already made it, it's including condensed milk, whipping cream, and salted. You can try the cream first. You use spoon and take the cream and taste, and then you can take the coffee and the cream together and taste, and finally you can mix it together, and then you drink.
The Ben Thanh Market. The city's most famous market is also its most misunderstood. While tourists crowd the souvenir stalls during the day, locals know the real action happens in the pre-dawn hours when restaurants source their ingredients, or the night market that springs up around its periphery. The building itself, with its iconic clock tower, serves as both a navigation landmark and a symbol of the city. But the true value lies in the local life that unfolds in the surrounding streets and alleyways. The Bin Thai Market in Cholon. The beating heart of Cholon, or Saigon's Chinatown, Bin Thai Market stands as a testament to the city's Chinese heritage. Its distinctive yellow clock tower rises above a sprawling maze of wholesale vendors, where everything from dried seafood to textiles is traded in bulk. Unlike the tourist-oriented Ben Thanh, this is where local businesses come to stock up, and the rapid-fire negotiations in Vietnamese, Cantonese, and Mandarin create a symphony of commerce that's remained largely unchanged for generations. Bui Vien. By day, it's a relatively quiet lane where locals still go about their business, but as evening falls, it transforms into a neon-lit carnival of bars, street food, and tourism. The infamous Backpacker Street pulses with a different energy than the rest of Saigon, for better or worse. While many travelers never venture beyond its bounds, treating it as a comfort zone of Western amenities and familiar faces, the true adventurer knows it's best experienced as a curious spectacle rather than a destination. A place to visit, for sure, observe the cultural mashup, then move on to discover the authentic Saigon that exists everywhere else. Japantown or Tokyo Corners. Letanton and Taiwanlong streets form the heart of Saigon's Little Japan, where the city's sizable Japanese expatriate community has created a slice of Tokyo in District 1. Tiny restaurants serve steaming bowls of ramen and perfectly grilled yakitori, while discreet signs point to hidden sake bars and karaoke rooms tucked away in the upper floors. The area comes alive at night when Japanese businessmen and local food enthusiasts crowd into intimate izakayas, and the narrow alleyways fill with the aroma of grilled meat and the soft glow of lanterns. The 10,000 Buddha Pagoda. Tucked away in the maze-like streets of Cholon, this temple stands as one of the city's oldest and most atmospheric Buddhist sanctuaries. The name comes from the countless Buddha statues that fill its halls, but it's the sense of timeless tranquility that leaves the strongest impression. The ancient Bodhi tree in the courtyard has witnessed over 2 centuries of prayers, while the blend of Vietnamese, Chinese, and Khmer architectural elements speaks to the city's cultural crossroads. And then there's the food. Oh, of course, the food. This is a city that eats on the street. Forget fine dining. Saigon's culinary gems are served on plastic stools, often right off the back of a motorbike. A bowl of pho that will change your life costs a few dollars, and every sip tells a story. It's the bone broth simmered for hours, the fresh herbs torn by hand, the slices of beef or chicken that melt in your mouth. But pho is just the beginning. Banh mi sandwiches are a daily staple. Crusty French baguettes filled with pâté, fried egg, different meat cuts, pickled vegetables, and fresh cilantro. The bread crackles in your hands as you bite down, and the flavors explode in a harmony that seems impossibly balanced. And there's more. Much more. Maybe you'll try a dish you've never heard of. You'll dip it into a bowl of fish sauce, and something just clicks. Or you'll wander into a small stall where they're grilling skewers of meat over open flames, the smell intoxicating, the marinade a secret recipe passed down for generations. The tourist attractions, the colonial architecture, the remnants of war. They tell important stories. I'm not avoiding that. But they're not where you'll find the city's heart. That beats strongest in the everyday spaces. in the temporary communities that form around street food stalls, and in the way complete strangers will guide you across impossible intersections. Each day in Saigon peels back another layer of complexity. Each day you step onto her streets feeling like she's already outrunning you. The traffic that initially seemed chaotic reveals its own elegant logic. The coffee culture that might appear simple, sweet milks and dark roasts, unfolds into a sophisticated dialogue between tradition and innovation. And somehow, amidst the swirling concoction of old and new, traditional and modern, east and west, you find yourself not as an observer of chaos, but as a participant in one of Asia's most captivating and fastest growing urban symphonies. It's a place where nothing is static and everything is in motion. You don't visit Saigon to relax. You come to feel alive, to be swept up in the madness, to eat, to sweat, to drink, to move. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find yourself a little more awake than when you first arrived. That's the thing about Saigon. It's not trying to impress you. It doesn't care if you like it or not. It's a city that's unapologetically itself, bold, messy, full of life. It will challenge you, frustrate you, overwhelm you, but in the end, it might leave you craving more. In the end, I think the best way to see Saigon isn't to see it all or following top 10 lists, because they will always leave you underwhelmed. It's to immerse yourself in its daily rhythms, one coffee shop at a time, one street crossing at a time, until the city's pulse becomes indistinguishable from your own, or until you just can't take it anymore.